low key, brother, but this is the second heavyweight unification bout in a row in terms of the 2 weeks back to back, man. Ryan Bader, the heavyweight champion, is seeking to unify his belt against the interim champion Valentin Moldavsky. Now, the question to you on this one is that in the UFC, the Francis Ngannou-Cyril Gane, a lot of people said, is this the unification bout or is this Ngannou's first title defense? Should they have even put in an interim champion? I don't know. This is a little more appropriate because Ryan Bader, over the last couple of years, he's basically said, I want to go work the light heavyweight belt, defend my light heavyweight belt, do the light heavyweight Grand Prix, all that. Kind of held up the heavyweight division pretty bad. So Valentin Moldavsky, he gets a very big win in his last fight against Timothy Johnson, to get the interim championship right there. So I don't really know if that was the correct fight to make to be truly like who should be the champion of the heavyweight division. But nonetheless, man, this is going to be an interesting fight because let me ask you this. Or I guess let me set the table. Ryan Bader, plus 260 underdog, minus 350 favorite for the interim champion, Valentin Moldavsky. Now, Ryan Bader, he lost his last fight to Corey Anderson at light heavyweight. He got knocked out. He won against Lyoto Machida. That was a big win, but he loses against Vadim Nemkov. He loses his belt. He gets knocked out in the second round at light heavyweight. Last heavyweight fight that he had, he was clearly dominating Czech Congo, and then he poked Czech Congo in the eye, and then you get a no contest. Still keep the belt, but you get a no contest. And then the win before that to actually win the heavyweight championship was against Fedor Emelianenko, knocked him out in the first round. So, AJ, with that being said, did you know that Moldavsky fights under Team Fedor, right? Fedor is his coach. So it's like, are we looking to avenge one in this one? But this is the key caveat. I look at Moldavsky and I look at Bader and I see the same fighter. One's an older version, one's a younger version. One's a better boxer, one's a better striker. Bader's probably got a little better stand-up. Moldavsky, though, you're the young athletic version of what a Ryan Bader used to be, former D1 wrestler. I'm not sure about the credentials of a Moldavsky. Do you agree with me in that sentiment? Are we seeing a prototype of a Ryan Bader, just a young version of that one? Or do you think that stylistically they have big differences between them?
No, man, I agree with you 100%. That's exactly what I wrote down. It's like the young versus the old, style versus style. I agree with you. Bader has a little bit better hands. Moldavsky has that crazy Russian style takedowns. It's basically a copy and paste, except the age is a little bit different. I believe they're also around the same height, same reach. Moldavsky has about a 1 inch advantage on both of those. But either way, I see this one as a young, like you versus your young cousin. You both been training the same way. You've been fighting a long time. He's just got a couple of years younger than you, basically copy and paste style, though. I agree, man. It's going to, either way, though, it is going to be fun because Bader does have hands, and in order to get a win on him, you got to put him out. Does Moldavsky have that power? We're going to see.
Well, the question is Ryan Bader, has he fallen in love with the hands? People are speculating a little bit, right? Because you're the wrestler. That's how you need to get the job done. But you look at the 2 wins that he has in his last 5. One was against Machida. That was a decision win, which I'm pretty sure he did a lot of wrestling in that one. But the other one, like I said, against Fedor, that left hook, man. He's fallen in love with the left hook. There's 2 weapons for Bader. Left hook, right cross. And that left hook has been doing some damage. But you know who else throws that left hook out all the time? Moldavsky, man. He loves that check left. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, how is this going to work out? On the feet, y'all have like the same weapons, even though Moldavsky to me does seem a little, to me personally, when I watch Moldavsky strike, he seems uncomfortable. He seems like he doesn't really want to be doing that. The motions are clunky. He feels like he's got a little too much muscle mass on him to be like a smooth boxer. But when he fought Ernest James, and that was a TKO win, man, where he just kind of beat it on him, put that jab on him all day long. That jab of Moldavsky is impressive. It's a little piston, man. And once he lands that with some success, with some confidence, that could be very dangerous territory for a Ryan Bader, who neither of these dudes have the greatest head movement and all that, because you're wrestlers, man. So that's what it comes down to. Young versus old. Who gets the first takedown? Who establishes top control first, AJ? Bader or Moldavsky?
I'm going Bader, man. I think he's going to get back to those wrestling ways. I think he has to. After taking that KO loss to Corey Anderson, I think you get back to what got you to the belt. You go wrestling, you go with what you're good at, and you teach the young buck something different that he hasn't seen before. Because I agree, he is the interim champ, but has he had the same level of competition that a Bader has? Not even close. He has fought some good people. He even beat Roy Nelson too, man. Moldavsky is a real deal. He's just young and up and coming. Where he, like you said, man, they have the same kind of fight style, but I think Ryan Bader gets back to his takedown ways, gets back to that top control, puts the weight on the young kid and lets him kind of feel something he hasn't felt quite before, especially because Moldavsky is more of a decision fighter. I agree with you. I don't think he's that comfortable on the feet. Once he does get comfy, he lets the hands fly a little bit better, but he's a lot more of a decision fighter than a finisher. And I really think, man, you got to be in, if you're going to be in there with Bader, you got to not get controlled and you got to put him to sleep. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, brother, you have a point. Bader has the experience, and that makes me wonder, makes me question, will that experience ultimately be the deciding factor in this fight? Is just, I mean, listen, Bader's a technician on the ground. People don't give him the credit for it, but he's like Habib-esque on the ground, man. He wraps up your legs. He knows exactly how to tie you up so you can't move, take away your post so you're just stuck against the cage, can't move, dropping elbows into your face. You don't want that. But Moldavsky, like I said, man, it's like youth versus the wisdom. You know what I mean? Are we taking the brute strength of a Moldavsky, all of that good stuff for the wrestling? I envision the fight happening like this. I think Ryan Bader secures the first takedown. Moldavsky is in a little trouble early on, but Moldavsky ends up taking over the fight as it goes on. 5 rounds, brother. You got a lot of time to make this happen. Listen, man. So one of the other things that I like about Moldavsky is he has very incredible cage wrestling and top control, right? Basically, but so does Bader, right? And both of them have the big right hand. It's just tough because when I'm going over, I'm like, literally, you have all of the same attributes, man. What is the difference here? What is the big difference? It's age. That's really what it comes down to. It's age, it's experience. But I do want to ask you legitimately, though, man, like, when you in a situation like this, you see folks clearly. I'm stumbling over my words because to me this is such a. How do you pick them? Is this a coin toss, or how are we picking them here? Why is Moldavsky a minus 350 favorite on this one? That's really the question. Outside of age here, AJ, man, like Ryan Bader, is this a good play at plus money, man? He has the capacity to win. The only caveat I have for you is that you just lost your light heavyweight title. You just come off of a knockout loss to Corey Anderson. You have to, the pressure's on. The mental game can't be 100% at peace right here. You have to be sitting there probably a little tight, a little nervous because you're like, I don't want to lose both of my belts. I was just the double champion. Is that why Moldavsky is the favorite? Explain to me here. Make it make sense to me.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you, Derek. That mental game from Ryan Bader must be in a weird spot where he knows this isn't necessarily a desperation win, but it's a desperation not to lose. Like he really needs this fight going forward. I think a little bit of age has to go into it. And honestly, Derek, I just think most people don't like Ryan Bader. They just sleep on him. He gets a lot of heat, doesn't really get a lot of the respect or the clout that I feel like he deserves. And even me, man, I'm not necessarily a Ryan Bader fan. I think there's a lot of other heavyweights, especially from the UFC and Bellator and all these fight organizations that have a little bit more fan-friendly approach, or at least a little bit more respect in the eyes of the media, the matchmakers, the odds keepers, all these people, the fans. I just think Ryan Bader just doesn't get anywhere near the level of respect or clout that I feel like he should deserve. And even for me, man, I just think most people don't like him. That's probably why Moldavsky is the favorite, even though I agree with you, it is basically a copy and paste.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the shiny new toy against the old grizzled vet. You know what I mean? It's like you saw in Toy Story where the kid Andy drops Woody. He's like, I don't want to play with you anymore. It could be that, brother. Like the OG in the game, man. Ultimately, AJ, the big number one ultimatum question here: does Moldavsky get one back for Fedor, the legend, the last emperor? Does he get one back for him, or do you think Bader says, "I'm gonna beat you up and your protege. I don't care. I'm beating up everybody on the squad"? What do you think?
Man, I think I'm going opposite of what I did last time. I rocked Team Russia on the last one, man. I'm going with Bader. I think Bader can get it done. I think he's going to get back to his wrestling ways. I think he's going to beat up the coach and the protege, maybe not necessarily knock him out like he did Fedor, but I think he's going to get the ground and pound, the decision win, really control that top pressure and avoid the KO. I think that's probably the biggest thing on his mind right now, which maybe he's not thinking about it. Maybe he shouldn't be thinking about it. That way it doesn't happen. But if he can avoid that KO loss, I think that's Bader's best way of getting this done, man. Put the body on him, put that experience on him, put that grizzled vet to work and just really grind out a wrestling match that we're going to see. It might not be entertaining. Bader might catch more heat for it, but I think it's his best way to win. What do you think?
Yeah, brother. I think this is going to be a long, drag-em-out, wrestling-intensive fight, but I'm going to pick the young buck, Valentin Moldavsky, to win this fight via unanimous decision. And the reason why I picked Moldavsky here, because I was going back and forth, bro, all week long. I was like, Bader or Moldavsky? This is really a tough choice. But I have to go with the youth here. This one, you know what I mean. I have to go with the young buck. I have to go with the dude who is. Listen, when it comes down to a cardio match, a wrestling cardio match, would you favor a 29-year-old or a 38-year-old? No matter how experienced and good Bader is, and also you got to think that there's a real ego chip on the shoulder type thing where you knocked out my coach. I have to get one back. You know, it's a little bit different, and I don't want to assume here, but I'm gonna do it anyways. So you know, it's a little bit different, AJ, when you know you got you're the pride of your country. You know what I mean? When you're in these other countries that are very nationalistic, you're putting one on, you're saying, I'm getting one back for Russia. You know, this is classic USA versus Russia grudge match right here, brother. So I think it should definitely be fun. Both of us are taking the over on 3.5 rounds on this one, and the over is -110. So that's what, you know what I mean? It's -120 for the under, -110 for the over. You know, basically pick them on this one. So that's interesting, brother. I'm going and new. You're going and still on this one. And wouldn't it be a hell of a thing to see and still back-to-back weeks, UFC and Bellator, to unify the heavyweight championship? That would be something, brother. So I'm not ruling out Ryan Bader. I'm not ruling out his possibilities of winning this fight whatsoever, because I think it could totally happen. I'm just rolling with the youth a little bit on that one, folks. So that's the main card picks, folks.